Hello and welcome to Eat Sleep Code, the official Telerik podcast. I'm your host, Ed Charbeneau, and with me is my co-host, John Bristowe, and special guest, Jeff Fritz. Normally on the show, we will do what happened in the news this week, but there's been a lot of chatter around augmented reality, one of John Bristow's favorite topics to talk
Oh
about.
yeah, bring it on.
He's the absolute AR guru. So if you want to talk to anybody about AR, VR, and otherwise, John's your guy. No, that's why I brought Jeff on. Jeff is a fellow VR fanatic.
Enthusiast.
Feel comfortable saying that. We both do a lot of just day-to-day activities in VR, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
So I figured we would have a show to talk about all the things that are happening in VR. This is the most VR chatter I think I've seen on social media in forever, probably.
There's been a lot going on. It has been a little crazy, no doubt.
There are dozens of us, John.
Dozens.
So we've got a lot of new devices that came out in the last couple weeks. I'm going to share some on screen so we can talk about them because there's a lot. And then we even lost a few. You know, we gotta talk about the ones that we lost in 2024. We'll get to that as well.
Okay.
So one of them is the Visor. Let's just run through them real quick, and we can skip back and forth to the ones we want to talk about. The MetaQuest 3.
Yep.
We've got the Bigscreen VR.
God.
The Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah.
And the spectacles.
Oh,
I'm missing some here. There's also the PICO.
The PICO is the other one I've heard folks talking to me about.
PICO, yeah. I don't want to leave anybody out. There's a lot of these things.
What about the Snapchat one?
Yeah, that was the
that's spectacles.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
And then I guess we could include the Valve Index too. Valve Index. That's still available for sale. Oh wait,
VIVE came out with
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. That's the one I was missing.
VIVE.
Thank you. The VIVE, the brand new VIVE.
Which looks like you've mounted a Yugo to the front of your face. Just awful looking. Like, look at the size of this thing. Dear Lord.
So, besides that, there's also the Quest 3 variants to the S.
Yeah, the 3S
there's
that just
Pro.
announced.
I think they are going to discontinue. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that are currently on the market. Is that right, Jeff?
Or coming on the market. Yeah, right. We know the Visor is in pre-order mode. Some of these other ones, they're announced, but they're not. They're going to be available before the holiday season, before the end of the year.
So 2024 may be the year of VR. Like, we've got a lot to choose from. There's also some offshoots of these things that aren't quite augmented reality experiences. There's the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. There's just a lot happening in the wearable space in general. So my favorite of these is obviously the Quest 3. Some of these haven't really come out yet. Bigscreen, I haven't had a chance to try. Apple Vision Pro, I wouldn't mind putting on a pair and kicking the tires, but the cost of entry on that one?
No. They're like, everybody's priced at $300 to $1,000 American, and then the Apple Vision Pro is $3,500. Like, which one of these does not belong?
Yeah, the Apple was the biggest disappointment for me, to be honest. And I've said this many times before in public. Like, they have everything in their power to be competitive in this space, and I feel like they just don't understand the market. And then they come out with this big thing to just show off how much technology they could put into a headset, and so there's no real rhyme or reason to the product. Like, but no
Apple's always been priced this way. Apple has always been priced out of the market, so to speak.
Well, it's priced out of the market by 2x. They're literally 10x out of the market. Like,
Yeah.
you've got the $300 leading the market Meta Quest 3 headset. The 2 headset was $300, and you are literally 10 times more expensive. Like, don't get me wrong. Apple produces some quality stuff. I carry an iPhone. I've got the Fruity Watch, and man, they are way off mark. And the thing that kills me here, fellas, is when they initially talked about the Vision Pro at WWDC, it was, we've got a developer kit for a VR device that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
We want to get developers involved and get devices in your hands. And we're going to have more information about devices later on. And we've got all this about devices and developers. And we want to make sure developers have a great experience with this. And it was positioned initially as a developer kit and developer device. And I think when you look at that and you think about this as a developer kit, yes, you're going to pay a premium because you're getting the first shot at the device. And they're expecting you to build, they're expecting everybody who buys a unit to build applications that are eventually going to go into the consumer version of this unit.
Yeah.
But somewhere between WWDC and the release of the Vision Pro, it disappeared.
Yeah, there's like a kind of a feeling of having skin in the game when you buy a dev kit. Like, you're probably a company that's building software that's going to recoup some of that cost on the back end. At some point, you're going to release a product and sell it. And then they throw this at consumers, and it's like, well, the consumer's not going to recoup any of this cost. Like, it's a slap in the face when you've got all-time high inflation. Global inflation is at all-time high, and you're going to throw this device out there that only certain people can afford. And it doesn't have a good look in the market when it does that. And then on top of it, you've got the power of the Apple silicon and the GPU power that it has. And then let's list all of the things that this device can do. 2D apps. That's it? Wait, what? For $3,500, you get
Hang on.
a really great display.
Yes.
That can display things spatially, but they're all 2D. Like, there's nothing
I
really
think your point,
3D going on here.
Jeff, I can't agree more with your point. It's absolutely bang on. Apple has always, and the three of us are old enough to remember Apple back in the early 80s. I mean, my first computer was an Apple II GS. Apple has always been customer centric. They've always led with customers first. And to have them lead with, I know it's WWDC, I know it's meant to be a developer event, but to lead with a product that has really no customers face. The reason why the iPhone took off with developers is because they could see how compelling it was. It was levels above the BlackBerry and the Palm Pilot and all this BS that had been put out by phone. And they come out with a world-changing sort of device. Developers are going to flock to where the consumers are. But for this, I mean, they're begging developers to build apps because they know that there's no customers yet. I saw one of these yesterday. I literally went to the Apple Store yesterday. It was front and center. No one was paying it. No one was using it. No one was asking questions about it. Everyone was around watches and phones. That's it. No one was looking at this thing.
So I think Apple isn't far off on it. I think the design, the capabilities, what they've put into this isn't terrible. They put premium cameras in it, premium 2 sets of displays, right? Both the displays for your eyes and this dork that's blinking at us here on the webpage, right? The front display. And the front display is a fantastic innovation to make sure that it doesn't look like you're wearing the blacked out diving mask. Totally get it. Makes a lot of sense. And I'm on board with that. It's a great idea. The cost of implementing it, though, off the chart. But I really think Zuckerberg has talked about this well. I really think that, and we see this when we start talking about devices like the Visor. I really think that within the next 10 years, the age of us having boxy things that we stare at on our desk is going to fade away. We're
Yeah.
not going to be looking. We went from having these giant cube monitors, CRT monitors, that literally took up 3/4 of your desk, and you're lucky if you had space for a keyboard, to flat panel displays. I think this is where we're going to end up. But as a replacement for a display, way too much. Fantastic. I love the idea of augmented reality and working with my computing devices in augmented reality. And Apple did a fantastic job stitching your phone, your tablet, and your Mac together. The Mac isn't that big a market. The phone, their phone dominates the market here in the States, certainly not overseas. But to put premium device on top of premium device at a time of high inflation, it's a hard sell. And that's where I think Visor is coming in and attacking this same approach. It's a premium device, but it's got the price tag that we're kind of looking for, and the type of interactions that we're looking for when we think that initial wave of, let me do all my computing things with one set of displays. Very
Yeah, this
light.
one's priced what, $1,000, or you can
It's
choose a lower price but pay like a monthly premium, kind of like the old school cell phone
You got it.
plan type of thing.
Yep. So there's $1,000 up front. It's a pre-order. It's not available yet. It's not going to be available for a couple months. But as you can see, you get the same. Hey, I'm casting my displays out in 3D space. I love this. I've been using the app. The name of the company that makes this is Immersed. Full disclosure, I have pre-ordered one of these devices, and I can effectively use better versions of my existing displays. That's pretty cool for me because as developers, we're junkies for screen real estate. Dear Lord, I can never get enough screen real estate. It's like databases in memory. I just want more. I just need more. I want to be able to see more things at once. And to be able to do that in virtual space like this. But John, I have this problem when I travel. I can't stand that I only have the one little display on my 14, 16-inch laptop. You know what I'm saying? You get to the hotel room and I need to work on a talk, a presentation I'm giving to a customer or at a conference. And I've only got the one little boxy display and that's it.
Sure.
And it's not enough.
Yes.
So I take my VR headset, my Quest 3 with me, and I run this app so I can have multiple displays again.
I'm with you on that. I just think it's a bit niche. And the phrase I've used, because Ed and I have talked about this for a number of episodes, the phrase I keep coming back to is Silicon Valley problems require Silicon Valley solutions. And this also feels like we're putting this feels like a solution looking for a problem. This whole space, which is why I'm not bullish on it at all. I'm quite bearish on it. But I would definitely use this in the context you just described. I'm on the road. I need to have more displays at my disposal. Virtual displays is very compelling to me. So with you all the way. Cool. The thing is, though, that I have a few questions, which I don't have answers to, but I would love to hear your take on it. What's the killer app? How are we going to solve the problem of battery life? I don't want to tether a huge circa 1980s VCR operation where you had battery on one shoulder and tape recorder on the other. I just think that there's too many innovations that are needed for this to really take off. And plus, as an eyewear wearer for 30 plus years, I've worn these things. I know how frustrating, like how hurtful these things can be. As light as they are, you're going to wear this thing on your face for 9-10 hours? I don't think so. This thing weighs a ton. So all those things aside, I would love to hear, what you think, where you think some of those problems can be addressed.
So some of these other devices that Ed's brought up, you're absolutely right. Can we go to the Vive again?
Yeah. HTC Vive.
So, dear Lord, this thing is a tank on your face.
I'm waiting for my call from SEAL Team 6. Come on, let's go.
Right? So here's the thing. the battery that they've put on the back of that device, right? Apple
Right.
didn't do this. Apple put the battery on a little tether that you put in your pocket, right? So it's connected. There's a cable that connects right next to your ear, and you put it in your pocket. Fine, right? I mean, that's something that offloads some of the weight from being on your face, but you've still got this huge thing hanging on your face.
Yeah.
What the Vive does here, and what other folks have done with their Quest headsets, is they put a thing on the back that puts the battery back there. So it load balances, and then where this thing has a strap across the top, which then is going to pull down on your head, it offloads with some padding here so that now you've got it balanced on both sides, and you've got a little bit of padding that comes down on the middle of your head. Still, you're not wrong. It's weird. And it's heavy, right? We're talking about 0.5 kilogram here on some of these devices. The thing that Visor bragged about is they come in at 180 grams. Now we're talking about something that's approaching. It's not quite. It's approaching the weight of a pair of glasses. A pair of glasses comes in at about 70 to 80 grams. So it's pretty light. So I think that's a good first step. The Visor folks took a step from the Apple people, and they're going to put a tether with your battery in your pocket. That's fine. I think looking at this is like generation 3 at this point, right? Because if we think of the Oculus Quest 1 as the first generation, right, and stuff before that really wasn't common consumer. Like, there was a market for it, but the consumers weren't going and getting it like the Quest headsets. This is really generation 3 leading into generation 4. I love the idea of making these lighter and don't put the huge thing in the back. So it's coming. I think there isn't a killer app yet. Everybody's looking to find it. I've been playing the Myst and Riven games on my headset, going back in the day, playing those games where there's so beautiful artwork, but actually being able to walk around and experience what it's like to be on those mystical islands that you're walking around and playing that game. It was amazing. To play that in the headset. You're still going to get sick. You're still going to get sick on this. But there's the idea that I can take, and this is something that like Zuckerberg, I hinted at, Zuckerberg was pointing to, and other folks have mentioned this in the past. I've got all these devices that have screens on them. Get rid of them. I don't want to pay for more screens. I've already paid for this screen. I don't want to pay for another screen on my phone.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. If we can consolidate all those things to one screen, VR screen, AR screen, whatever it is, I think we're in a fantastic place that makes a lot more sense. And to your point, I completely agree with John. These things are heavy, and I don't want it hanging on my face. Scott makes a great question here. About corrective lenses. So when you have the load balance like this, you can take that shield off the front of it, off the inside of it, and you can actually still see with your glasses looking through it.
Yeah, a little bit of this depends too on what type of nearsighted or farsighted person you are. So the way the lenses work on the VR glasses, if you are farsighted, then you may not need the glasses with the headset because you're focusing on a screen that's actually here, even though it may have the effect that you're looking into the distance. You're actually not focusing into the distance. So a lot of people can take their glasses off and just use the device as is. For people that are nearsighted, like Jeff said, there's either spacers you can put in or take pieces off that will accommodate the glasses, or you can get prescription lenses for your headset. And I think you actually might have some, Jeff. Is that right?
I don't have any yet. I'm going to be ordering some for my Visor when it arrives.
Yeah, so you can get your own lenses with your prescription on them. So that's a great question. I run into that a lot when folks come over and they want to try it out. I just kind of usually have to give them a little quiz beforehand. It's like, are you nearsighted, farsighted? We
Mhm.
set it up accordingly, but it adjusts pretty quick. There are some folks that can't use these at all, though. Trying to remember what the exact condition was. Had a friend that couldn't see; they didn't have the stereoscopic vision. Most
Yes.
people. So it's just kind of like dual screens at that point. It's really disorienting. And then there's other, visual things that bother people when they get into these, or motion sickness can be a big one.
Yep.
I find weird edge case things give me motion sickness that most people don't have an issue with, but I do. So anything that is like a game that you're playing where you're not your normal height or you're like close to the ground. Gorilla tag, I'm in there 2 seconds. I cannot stand it. Like you're moving in this weird pace and you're close to the floor, and it's like instant motion sickness for me. Things with really bad graphics too seem to trigger
Yes.
me. But then again, like, I was playing a lot of, what's that called? Star Wars Squadrons, where you're flying around in an X-wing fighter in space. Hours, no problem. Not a problem whatsoever, because I had great graphics and, it's rendering at a smooth, 60 frames per second or whatever. It just doesn't bother me at all.
The Walkabout mini golf was just a game changer for me. Very good implementation of miniature golf. Ridiculous courses that they just invented and put out there, and you can interact with, and very well done. You don't
Mhm.
have to walk around the golf course. You can actually use the controller to jump to wherever the ball is, so you don't end up with that motion. But being able to look around and experience a VR golf course in space, pretty cool stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
I I haven't done any of the social interactions using VR. I haven't been able to get a good network connection to make that work with the rendering and all of that at all.
Well, anything specific you're not able to do? Like I've played games where, they're multiplayer games.
No, I'm thinking
Um,
like the Meta Horizon interactions where you get into we tried doing this for a little bit during pandemic, tried to get everybody into a
oh
chat
yeah.
room where you're able to walk around and see folks, and it was never a good experience doing effectively the multiplayer, everybody walking around and in the same room experience. Never
Yeah.
got that to work out well.
I do want to talk a little bit about killer apps. So I think
Sure.
that topic is a little bit more personal. Like I don't think there's going to be the one killer app to rule them all, but I think there's going to be that like killer apps for certain things that people might find interesting in, and that turns them on to trying out these VR headsets. Some of them could be games. I think Half-Life Alyx is one of those killer apps.
Yep.
Half-Life Alyx, if you're into any PC gaming, is like the pinnacle of PC gaming in the last 20 years. Like this thing is amazing. It's one of the coolest experiences. Fantastic graphics, very immersive.
Hmm.
Um, Gameplay was good enough that it's worth getting one of these headsets and trying it. And especially if you're a fan of the franchise, and this can go for any game. If you're a fan of the franchise of whatever it is, and they decide to make a dedicated VR version of it, not just like port one of the 2D versions, but actually make a dedicated VR experience for that game. It takes you out of looking at a flat screen and just puts you in that world. And to be able to, go back and remember playing Half-Life, Half-Life 2, and then stepping foot into Half-Life and seeing the enemies like towering over you is just a completely different ball game. One of the coolest things I think I've done, in the past 5 years in computing. Like that is just amazing.
I was impressed by the Vader Immortal games. So this was right. It's effectively storytelling. It's you're walking through a it's part of the Star Wars timeline between like Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It's in that time frame.
Mhm.
And you're walking around and you're exploring this planet. It's away from the rest of the rest of Skywalker and the Rebels, but you're walking around and exploring. And at the end of the first game, it is so much fun. But what really gets you on VR in just the first game, and all three of them you can get. They came with the Quest a couple years ago, but they're very inexpensive to get. What got me on that first game was there's a point where you have to look over a ledge and look at there's something down below over the side of the cliff, and you look over that ledge, and I literally fell on the floor of my living room. I was like, okay, there's something here. And
Yeah.
just a few minutes later, you're in a room and you think you've flipped all the switches and closed the door and all the things, and all of a sudden you hear the lightsaber light and a red glow, and Vader is in front of you. And it's not like watching him on TV in front of you. Oh gosh, it's James Earl Jones' voice. Oh, it's what's his name? No, Vader's in front of you, and they purposely set up the VR so that you're looking at him, and here is the top of his chest as you're looking. So it doesn't matter how tall you are. I don't care if you're freaking Shaquille O'Neal. You still have to look up at Vader, and it's like, oh crap. Like, it's intimidating in a way that, because they can make the character that's always been intended to be larger than life and mean and the baddest, meanest guy in the galaxy, like, holy smokes, and you feel it. They didn't do anything except for just make his graphic a little bit bigger and taller than you. And it sold me on VR at that point.
And then you felt the floor hit your chin. I mean, there is something there. It's called your vestibular system. That's what was happening. But
Yeah, the Star Wars Squadrons was a pretty good one as well. This, from the Star Wars universe, my favorite movie was the second of the trilogy. The Empire Strikes Back, the Hoth scenes where you're flying around, tripping up the walkers and all of that, and the Star Wars Squadrons is like, it's basically just dogfighting. Like, one team gets all of the Rebel fighters, one team gets all of the Imperial fighters, and that's it. That's all there is in the game. You're just flying these things around, dogfighting. And it probably didn't do as well as it could have from a sales standpoint, because it was a 2D game, but it also had a VR capability to it. I think if they would have dedicated more to the VR part of it, might have changed things a little bit. But being able to sit in the cockpit and actually just, use your head to look around, and you see the control panel in front of you, things feel to scale, and you're tracking enemies flying above your head. Completely different from playing it 2D, where you've got, control sticks and you're just looking at a TV.
Yeah.
Everything move around in front of you. It's just wildly different. That was another good one. So I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder with the killer app. I think more things will come. I've highlighted this YouTube video. It's called "The Google Introduces an AI Time Machine."
Mm-hmm.
And they have added some AI capabilities to Google Maps that takes historical data and AI and tries to map out scenery, cities, things like that, in what they looked like in 3D space. So this is something I could see being a potential killer app for not only VR but AR, which we haven't really talked too much about yet. We probably should. But just imagine, if you will, going to a virtual location. Maybe you're in your home. You pull up your street view for maybe the Big Apple. You drop a pin on the corner, and then you can dial through decades of architecture and see what that city looked like at different time periods. And then talk about the AR version of that. Go to the actual place and then overlay the historical buildings on top of what you're actually looking at in real space would be just phenomenal. Like history tourism, I think would be something that would really benefit from something like this when we get the technology where it can do something close to that.
So this feels like where is it?
There's a scene in Lucy, the movie Lucy, where it's starring Scarlett Johansson, where she does that. She flicks her wrist and
Yes.
she goes
Okay.
back in time.
Haven't seen it.
Yep.
Is it? It can't be this. No Better Place to Die. There's a Tom Hanks movie coming out, and it's called like Here, or something like that. And I'm looking at his IMDb, and it's listed as, no, that's not it. That's not it. But the movie is literally locked in. The camera is at one location the entire time, and it shows you how this place evolved over time. And it's a ground floor apartment in New York is what it looks like. And you see the settlers coming over and things set up, and they build the first building around it. And the grandparents move in, and the parents live there. And eventually Tom and his family live there, and you see the kids grow up and whatever. And the end of the trailer is he and his wife sit down at chairs in the middle and said, "Man, what a great space this was." And that's the end of the trailer. And it's like, oh my gosh! But it's that same looking at how this position on this planet, how this geographical place changed over time, and when you think about how that place, is that it, Thindall? I was trying to find. Yeah, Here. That's it. I don't know why it's not listed on his IMDb, but just really interesting. But it sounds like they're doing, Google's effectively putting in AR space what this movie did. I did go to Actor upcoming.
I don't think they have it for AR yet, but they have it coming to Google Maps. And then this app here that I'm showing, it's called World with a couple extra O's, is an app that you could get today that is based off of Google Maps data. And you can basically go anywhere that you can drop a pin in Google Maps. This is a really interesting app for folks that want to travel and maybe don't have the physical ability to do so, or don't have, the money to go travel the world. It is very expensive.
Sure.
And it's just a really unique way to go view things if you don't have the ability to do it. And
Said exactly what I was going to call this. It's VR GeoGuessr.
it's a little bit like that, but you can pick where you want to go as well. Like you don't have to get randomly portaled somewhere and then figure out where you're at. You can actually, maybe you grew up somewhere and you want to go back and see what it looks like today. You don't have the ability to get there because of, financial reasons, physical ability. Maybe it's just not a worthwhile investment to spend the time and money to go back, but you're curious. You can just drop a pin in, hit a button, and then you're immersed in that location. And then you can navigate around just like you do in Google Maps. It's basically Google Maps in 3D.
And this World?
But yeah, it's called World, WOORLD. This is actually really interesting because when you do it, when you look at a picture of a place, maybe a place you've been, it's on your phone, something like that. You're like, yeah, that was a cool place to go visit. When you put a VR headset on and you immerse yourself in that spot and can look around in 360 degrees, there's a little bit more of an emotional connection with that. You actually feel the presence a little bit and you're like, wow, I remember this. It's like smelling something from your childhood. You know what I mean? You smell it and you put yourself back there. The immersive features of the VR really help with, doing that, visiting places and seeing them in scale. It's just a different experience.
But I can
No, we
see
need
this, right? Not
we
just for the throwback, and
we don't need we can leave the smelling out.
I don't want to smell the cat. I'm sorry. The cat wandering around the house here. Look, I see this not just the nostalgia of, hey, you know, it's been a while since I've been to Washington D.C. Let me go and walk around the Lincoln Memorial for a little bit. That's kind of cool. Okay, I get it. But hey, I've never been to the Sydney Opera House. I'd love to have an opportunity to walk around there and use an app like this to go on that virtual travel experience. But
Mhm.
I also see this for folks that are travelers like us that hey, you know what? I've got an event coming up next month in Chicago. I haven't been to Chicago in a long time. I think I know where my hotel is. I think I know where the convention center is, and I'm going to need to get back and forth there to be able to walk through the city and get that pre-travel experience of knowing, wait a sec, this is further than I thought. I shouldn't be walking this. Or you know what? It's close, but I really don't want to be walking through this neighborhood to get there. And right, hey, you know what? There's a Starbucks along the way here that looks like it was on the map. It looks like it's going to be okay for me to stop out and to be able to scout that out ahead of time for travel. I think is a interesting application here. Like, I know next time I go to Sofia, Bulgaria, I'm going to completely forget my way around that city. But to at least have an idea of where I'm going ahead of time, because I can't read the Cyrillic. Dear Lord, I'm lucky I can read the English. And to be able to make my way around there and have that test drive using an app like this, sold.
Yeah, but we've had this for a while with Street View, right?
Totally.
So,
But
It's different scale.
not just different scale, but it doesn't feel as realistic, right? It doesn't in the scale, in the looking around and feeling like you're actually there. It's a step up in the experience that makes you feel like you're part of it.
Yeah. Another thing I think we talk about killer apps. Yeah, I think they're already out there, was my point. And that we're gonna get more. And they're gonna be, specific to people's needs. Like what is the killer app for you rather than, the iPhone was kind of like, well, it's the killer app for everybody because it's got the web browser, right? The web browser was the killer app, was it not? Is that not like the killer app for any
I would
mobile
argue
device?
the greatest innovation. I would argue the greatest innovation the phone brought was getting rid of the stylus and keyboard. The touch sensitivity, the pinch to zoom, all that stuff was the greatest innovation that the phone brought.
Yeah. It's
So for glasses, I could see it as a killer app for people who are limited in terms of their vision, for
Yeah.
sure.
Sure.
which you could do a lot of that without the augmented reality like overlay hololensy stuff. The Meta Ray-Bans are excellent for um, helping folks that need assistance, where they
Mhm.
have AI built in. You just swipe your glasses and ask it what's in the scene with you, and it can tell you, it could read signs for you. There's actually a great video I retweeted the other day of somebody that was using it for that.
Hang on.
Um,
Can we introduce and talk about what the Meta Ray Bans are? Because
oh
there,
yeah, absolutely.
there's two different, right? Meta makes a number of devices here, and we've talked about the Quest device for a little bit, and that's one of these Johns. But the Meta Ray Bans, and then there's another device that they just announced last week. They announced, but the Ray Bans are a little bit different. They're not a VR device.
Yeah, so they don't have any display capability. They have a camera or several, and they have audio, so they could do things with connectivity where the cameras, you press a button, you can ask it, what you're looking at, and it will use AI to describe the space. You could take
Through your phone,
photos.
correct?
Yeah, I'm
Through your
sure it
phone,
connects
correct?
to the phone.
Okay.
It's got, I think the capabilities of the actual device itself are limited to it has a camera, it has a microphone, and some touch input, and audio output. So
So
microphone,
it's an
camera.
extension of your phone. Let's be honest here. It's not self-serve
Yes.
on its
Yeah,
own.
but it's got the convenience of looking where you're looking. It's got the gaze that you're looking at.
I think that's the right approach, because Apple has proven that with the Apple Watch, and that you have a better experience when you pair it
Yes.
with your phone alongside.
Coming back once again to, hey, we're extending the computing experience, and as an assistive device to help folks that might have challenges with their vision. Fantastic idea for a device here, no doubt.
Yeah.
But there is no screen. It's strictly a audio device with cameras on it to help with some of that detection of.
See, I can do this right now with my AirPods. I know I'm I'm doing a lot of whataboutism.
No.
But with my AirPods, I can talk to Siri and I can ask it questions. And
you can't ask it what you're looking at. For somebody
no, but I can
has
I can
visual
describe.
impairments.
yes, of course.
They can't, they can't do that. They need to rely on a camera being pointed at something. There's a really excellent video though. I'll find it later and reshare it. But
to John's point, I mean, you can still get from the phone, hey, where am I? And it can tell you. It doesn't know which way you're facing, and it doesn't know, hey, that there's a street cart with a guy selling hot dogs in front of you. It doesn't know that.
Yeah,
or something like this would know that, because it has cameras that's pointed in that direction. Certainly, there's an opportunity for somebody to build an app that uses the camera on the phone. You just have to hold the camera out and detect it, certainly. But
and
as an assistive device,
translation capabilities too, because it does have a microphone. They did demo real-time audio translation.
Yep.
From Spanish to English, English to Spanish. That was something they were able to do. Live demo. I don't know if they announced when that would be released.
The Babelfish app is definitely something I would be interested in.
So what I think is interesting now, I mentioned we don't want to confuse this with the new device, Project Orion, that they announced. And I appreciate that Meta they only announced it. There is no release date. They showed off, look, here's something we invented. It's not an available product, and quite frankly, I don't think they should have shown it at that point. But they're doing full augmented reality overlays on glasses, and the glasses device metaphor, and complete voice interaction like you have with the Ray-Bans. Okay. They look like they're a little bit further along than what you were hinting at earlier, John, the spectacles, the Snap device. And right, Snap's doing the same thing. They call this a developer preview, and you can't buy the device. You have to pay $100 a month to get these. And if they don't look like, can you scroll down there? These things look like the glasses. There you go. That your crazy Jewish uncle would get to go over top of their glasses, because these things look like birth control is what they look like. Dear Lord.
I love one comment I saw that was great was
the fertility crisis has been isn't helping with that.
Helping with the fertility crisis. They remind me of the glasses you put on when you go on one of those 4D rides at an amusement park.
Yeah. Or the 3D glasses you get to wear at the movie theater because you're watching a 3D movie. Yeah.
Yeah, this has been my point the whole time that we've been talking about this, Ed and I, Jeff, which is I think that we're still a long ways off to having lightweight devices, because the expectation here is you're going to, at least the consumer expectation is, oh, I can wear these all day. No, you very can't. And you won't want to, because
we're not there yet.
Because and I'm still a strong proponent of the fact that we need to invest heavily in battery technology. We need to get that. We need to get that a lot further along
Sure.
until we can start pursuing this. CPUs are as small as they can get. Memory, all that stuff's fine. Even the displays themselves are pretty low power, but the battery is still a problem. So that's going to continue to be the case for a long time.
Okay. Yeah.
That battery might always be a problem. I think you got to go down in power, not up in battery. The more you put battery power in a tightly compact space, generally the recipe for a disaster goes up as well.
Sure. Yeah.
So
But-
people aren't going to want something on their face that has the potential to blow their face off.
I'm not, yeah, that's right. I'm not buying glasses from Samsung.
Yeah.
But I look
Any fuel storage medium has that same problem, though. It's
Yeah.
just,
That's
batteries.
my point.
You can only do so much and make them as safe as you can, but there's still that catastrophic scenario where something goes wrong, and the more energy you have in a tightly compressed space, the more potential for explosion you have.
So,
and size of explosion. So I
but
think they got to go down in power.
I think this is a good next step at that form factor.
Mhm.
I think
Me
the Quest, they're basically hanging a phone off the front of your face, right? Same
Mhm.
thing with the Vive, same thing with dear Lord, the big screen. Like they're hanging a phone off the front of your face. I get it.
Yep.
These ones, the visor is getting closer to we're just hanging individual screens off of your eyes, and it's moving in that direction. I think the visor is an adequate next step. This is where we want to be. But John, you're spot on. It needs to be light. It needs to not be so intrusive that it bugs you all day. Like what the visor does that I think we're going to want to see in devices like this is when I do go into VR mode, I want to be able to block out the outside world, and there's a shield that they put over the outside cameras so that it looks like a pair of sunglasses. I think
We've
we're
come
going
full
to-
circle now. It's the Star Wars Episode 4 reference. So when Luke puts the blast shield down,
Yes.
so
I want to be able to do that when I'm going to take a device like this and go to, all right, I need to go to VR mode because I'm interacting with the internet. I'm doing whatever it is. Boom. And then
you're walking along the sidewalk. Trust your feelings.
but the augmented reality interactions when you're walking around, there's a delay in the camera that's being broadcast into your eyes. Right? These pass through and they're doing gimmicks with the glass that you're looking through. When you've got the mixed reality with the full
You're talking
shield in
about
front of
Quest.
you, yeah, like there's a couple millisecond delay there that you don't want to be outside dealing with. You don't want to be outside looking at anywhere near the sun wearing one of these things because there's a camera between you. But there are people who have done this, John.
Yeah.
There are people who have driven a car with this thing strapped to their face.
Sure. I've seen them. They're falling asleep in their Tesla.
Yeah. That's the simulation right there of looking into the sun.
What are you doing?
Yeah, for this type of device, it's good for gaming. It's good for that desktop productivity, virtual monitor replacement stuff. Wouldn't be walking the streets with this.
Totally.
It's more of an indoor thing. But the Orion style device, the HoloLens, rest in peace.
That was discontinued this week.
I was kind of surprised, like the HoloLens is gone and there's nothing following it up. Microsoft, I guess, just can't find market fit.
So full disclosure, I don't work in that group. I don't have any insight. There was massive turnover we know in the leadership of that group. Hey, I can see there not being a visionary to take over that, but I can also see they might just be eyeballing a company to acquire if they want to be in this space. But right now, I don't think they want to be in this space.
I think if you're Microsoft, this is the smart play. Just thinking strategically, like we've just noted the fact that we've got all these newcomers that have come into the market, and Microsoft has been leading the charge on this for a while, and everyone was like, no one's taking this up. So you become a bit of a laughingstock. So I think this is the right play here. Microsoft's like, okay, we'll take a step back. We'll let everyone kind of, you guys can take the beach. We'll hang back and we'll wait. We'll go on that third wave of VR innovation. And I think this is the right move. You just take a second,
Yeah. And then if they wanted to acquire one of these companies or buy their product from them, it's possible at that point. However,
sure.
with the big plays that Microsoft is making with AI, this doesn't fit in the portfolio right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. Yeah, everybody's talking about AI. We got a whole show about that. We'll cover that stuff there. But there is quite a bit of AI in these devices. I don't think you can really have these devices without it, to be honest. But it's not the headline that's selling these things, right? It's kind of
All right,
secondary.
so I'm gonna obviously everyone knows I'm the person I'm the disgruntled person who doesn't want to get these things. But I am curious, to hear from you guys of the device. If you've gun to my head, Christmas time, kids want a headset. Which one am I going with here?
Can I answer first?
Go ahead.
I wouldn't get the Quest 3. I would get the new Quest 3S.
Okay.
Which has a little bit more power, and it's about half the price of the Quest 3. All right. So they just announced it. However, it doesn't have the resolution of the 3. And there's something else that it doesn't have.
The lenses aren't as good.
Yeah, the resolution, the lenses aren't quite as high.
Well, the screen resolution isn't as high, but the lenses themselves are the older style lenses that have the God ray issues. So that's
as an entry level device, $300. It's about the same price as a console system, in my mind. And everything's adjustable on it. It's a good start.
Yeah, if it's if it's not for yourself and for a kid that's going to be mostly gaming, I would say this is definitely a good priced starter device for kids that are gaming. If it was
right,
for
let's say,
somebody,
I was going to say,
myself,
if let's say I bonk my head and I changed my mind about these things, what would you recommend for me?
So John's trying to say that he really wants one and doesn't want to
No.
come right out. He doesn't want to come right out and say it. So
you're a jerk.
If you're more the adult that is going to be using this for trying to do the virtual monitor productivity thing, or you're a hardcore gamer that's doing like PC VR, where you're connecting this to your PC and playing games.
Okay.
The Quest 3 is a better choice. It's got a better resolution screen, and the lenses on this are far superior to the other ones. There's this thing called a God ray, and it's basically the concave lenses that they put in these older devices. Whenever there's a little bit of bright light, a pin light, it will just like kind of cast these bright streaks down the lens. They're very distracting. That was the major downside to my Quest 1, is that like you'd look in this thing and it'd just be a tunnel of light all the time. The new lenses don't have that issue. This is not a problem. It's much more crystal clear when you put it on. So just for that fact alone, if you have the extra money to put into this and it's something you're going to enjoy using, I would say go with this one. If you're just going to play games that are on the Quest and you don't want to, the text resolution and stuff from your monitor and stuff isn't a concern for you, the S is probably a better choice.
It's an entry level, but Meta's done a nice job mixing the consumer grade of these devices, while still providing some pretty advanced capabilities.
Yeah, the 3S is kind of like the 2 and the 3, Quest 2 and the Quest 3 kind of had a baby, and this is the better version of the Quest 2, but it's not quite the Quest 3 either. Like it's a middle ground between them.
It,
So it's a
it freaks
good
people out
successor.
when they see those cameras on the front of these devices, though.
What's that?
It freaks people out when they see those cameras on the front of these devices. They look at it and they're like, "What the heck is that?"
I don't think the camera's for you. I think it's just the device itself. If I
That's
walked
what I'm
into a room and one of my family members was wearing this on their head, I'd be like, okay, what's this? You know?
Yeah, my wife hates it. She does not want to see me with this on, but I did get her playing games on it recently. So there is a game
Doom?
that, again, it's one of those things. I'll actually bring the game up. She loved this game as is it gonna search the whole store? Will it do? Yeah. So this was a game that originally shipped on the Neo Geo back in the day, but then it's been like
The Neo
rehashed
Geo.
for every platform.
There's a callback.
And it's like one of those bubble popping games. And this is like the OG like bubble pop game. It's called Puzzle Bobble. And it was a 2D game, very flat, and she's played it on every console that we've ever owned. And I saw it go on sale, and I was like, you know what? I'll buy it. And if she doesn't like it, it was $10 on sale. Not a big loss. So she does not like VR at all. I put this on. I'm like, try this out. It's your favorite game, but in VR. About third level in, she started laughing. She's like, I love this. This is so cool. She's like,
what about
cool.
VR video? Because I'm a huge like the number one app for me is video consumption for me. Like I watch YouTube all the time. And so I know that VR video is a thing. Like you go to a sport event, you have one of those 360 cameras so you can look everywhere. Yeah. I would imagine that would be pretty popular. Like if I can watch a sporting event in 360 from the stands, that's pretty compelling to me.
What is the platform they have?
But
they have this courtside pass thing.
Oh wow.
So that you can sit courtside and walk around.
Yeah.
That is cool. If it's live, you know, yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'm trying to remember what it's called though. There's an app that you get and then you can subscribe to different venues and things. But they have like all of the NBA games and UFC and some other stuff.
So Thindo makes an interesting comment here. He said, don't know, like 75% our stands are just people. That's the most interesting part of being at a sporting event, which is looking at all the idiots you're surrounded around. I don't know if you guys have been to a cricket match or a football game, seeing the fights in the stands or the beer snakes or all that stuff. That's part of being at a sporting event. Yeah. So I would love to see that.
Stadium. I think this is the one.
Okay.
Stadium. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's not like full movement where you can, it's not 360 degrees of freedom, but you can choose, like, say if you're at a an NBA game, you can move seats around the outside of the courtside seating. So say there's like a play going on at the other end, you can, flick a button and show up at the other end.
That's pretty cool.
Courtside.
So do you think Hollywood's going to go? Do you think Hollywood's going to go? Because Hollywood adopted IMAX, right? And you see all the big budget movies going there. Do you see them going towards like more VR experiences with movies?
That's an interesting question. This is something that the Apple Vision Pro actually has the best experience for, from what I understand.
Yeah. Okay.
So they have a tighter integration with some of the movie vendors that are out there, and they have a small suite of 3D movies.
I could just see myself like watching Lord of the Rings projected, just eating popcorn, watching like, Bilbo with the ring and being like, oh, he's gonna fall, he's gonna throw it into the pit of the lake of fire. Oh, that's cool, sort of thing. So
yeah, if you could give me this movie on VR, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. This is like an old school, like, it's a kid's movie, but I love it. It's a fantastic piece of art. If you've never seen Coraline, it's like up there on my watch list. It's it's a claymation movie, and they've released it originally in the theater in 3D. And I'm begging them to please give us a VR copy of this, especially on the Quest, where I can actually use it. But I would buy this in a heartbeat if it was on the Quest. I would pay a premium for it. It's like just one of those nostalgic movies, and it's like one of those. It's an this movie is more art than anything. Like the amount of work that went into this movie is phenomenal. So if you haven't had a chance to see it, check it out. But I would love to see this in full 3D. It'd be amazing.
You think like all the pieces are there if you think about it, because you think about all those cut scenes you see in video games. Like, just put me right in there, like with the because you already know where all those 3D models are, and you can just rotate the camera around, and you're good to go. Maybe that's the future. Who knows?
So, but I think Hollywood is seeing how much money games with a cinematic component make.
Right.
And for the same year or two of production time that you would put into making a movie, and you're going to spend $1 billion making a movie. So if you spend 500 million making a game, publish it, use some of your actors in that, and you are potentially going to do much, much better. You have a higher chance of doing better with it. I think we're going to see them starting to invest more in, and we are starting to see more of the actors show up in games and things.
Oh yeah,
We'll see. But
there's quite a few, I think, in the show The Boys that were crossover in video games like Call of Duty and stuff.
Yeah,
But,
the theaters are not doing well, and to provide an alternate experience that is a must see, must experience.
there have been experiments too where movies are doing they're doing a thing with the 3D aspect of VR where there might be certain scenes that you can watch from different points of view. So, you might watch, a good portion of the movie, from the director's perspective, but there might be a scene that, you get a moment in time where you can choose a different camera to look from.
Sure.
So they're doing some things like that I've seen. I can't remember the exact instance of that, but I remember seeing that somewhere. And then there's 3D animations that are like fully immersed where you can kind of like fly around, use your own camera perspective to watch.
If Star Wars comes out as VR video experience, the first place I'm putting the camera is the Death Star canteen. That's where I'm going first.
I see.
So.
you want to meet
I'll
Jeff
have the
Vader.
Penny Ali Albi Alba. Yeah, sorry. The old Eddie Izzard bit. I want to go there.
But I think this is, if we can pull this VR or AR experience off, like this is going to be, it will be a game changer when it happens. They can get that device cheap enough that it's, in that iPhone $1,000 range.
But this is the extend the display of my computing device to somewhere in real space.
Yep. Yeah. I get that.
This is the future at some point, whether...
Give me one screen that unifies my tablet, my phone, and my desktop.
Yeah, not only that, it can augment things around you and put digital information and overlay it where it belongs. Like this is kind of a decent example here. Like looking at something and getting contextual information about it on top of it, directions. You're walking down the street, you got directions being overlaid in front of you, all of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be a game changer. It's just a matter of time.
This is augmented reality that we're seeing, right? Versus virtual reality, fully computer generated space. And what is mixed reality then, and then XR?
Yeah, these are very vague terms these days.
Augmented reality, virtual reality, and IRL, I think, are the three things here.
Reality.
Extended reality, mixed reality, spatial computing, because we had to have our own term, which still wasn't original. Yeah, I still have problems with this, but
Yeah.
I don't want to beat a dead horse. But I will tell you, if you wanna trigger the Apple fanboy, I found the ultimate trigger this week when Apple or when Meta announced the Orion glasses.
Yes.
The social media is lit up with the term this is Meta's iPhone moment. And holy cow, that was like kicking the hornet's nest of Apple fanboys. Like
Oh,
that is like a trigger word, man.
yes. Yes. No.
Searching
Something
this on
about that
X right
riled
now.
them up. What is that?
I'm searching for this term up on X
Oh,
right now.
iPhone moment. Just look for
Oh yeah,
iPhone
here we
moment.
go.
You'll probably find it.
Yes.
But it's
Yeah,
like
I've just found it. I'm seeing the vitriol. Give it to me. The smell. It's. I love the vitriol.
the instant rage of
Yes.
Apple Vision Pro wearing badgers just flying out of the woodwork. It
The
was
thing
really
about
interesting to watch.
the Orion
God, why
device,
do people take?
you see it there, you also have to wear a wristband so that it knows where
Yeah.
your hands are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And immediately the Apple folks are defending this by like, well, they could just, it's all these imaginary things like, well, they'll just have the watch replace the band and then the iPhone replace the puck and the glasses will come out and it's like it's a lot of what ifs for one and for two these are
Sure.
not comparable devices. Nobody said this was better comparable anything to the Apple Vision Pro. They're not the same market.
We
These
we
are
are
not the same thing.
we are
This
really early, and folks are still pitching ideas and devices to see what sticks, what works. We're
these
testing
two
all these.
things, where did my other tab go? These two things are competitors. I could compare
Definitely.
those two things.
But
The
one
Quest
isn't available
and
yet.
the Apple Vision Pro are comparable things,
Yeah.
but the Quest and Orion or Apple Vision Pro and Orion, not the same thing.
No.
Like people are just fighting this fight of like whose is better, and it's like they're apples and oranges,
Right.
literally. Like every way, like every way imaginable. They're two different things um, that have a similar purpose. Like that's all they have in common is
Yeah.
they both go on your face and do some AR, but they're completely different markets and approaches. Anybody tried the Quest Pro? That's a good
No.
question. I have not.
That's the other thing about most of these devices is they're not just the Apple device. They have an Apple store. You can actually go and see it and touch it. Most of these, though, you can't. It's under glass at the Best Buy, at the Walmart, at the Target. You can't touch it. The spectacles, you're not going to see that in the store anywhere. You have to order it from the website, and good luck.
Yeah, I think they're gonna discontinue that. There's been some rumors of it. I think it was the jumping off point for the Quest 3, to be honest. It was probably the prototype for the Quest 3. The Quest 3, the hardware came in better than expected. From what I understand, it's a better device than the Pro.
Yes.
So there was some like other things that were hardware-wise better on the Quest 3, like processor power or something, maybe.
Yep.
But as far as like the visuals, the screen and the lenses came out better and ended up being a better device. So I think that's gonna
The Pro
end
was
up
heavier
being
too.
yeah.
So, and let's face it, when you buy one of these things, the aftermarket is where the real fun begins. Oh, John, the aftermarket stuff you can do with one of these headsets. You got to start off first off gluing googly eyes to the front of it. That way your spouse doesn't look at you and think you're not looking at her. Oh no, can't you see, honey? I've got eyes in the front so that you know I'm looking at you.
Yeah, the accessory market for this is bonkers.
It is.
There may be dozens of us, but we like our gadgets. Right?
Dozens of us.
Did they open the APIs yet? They've been expanding the APIs quite a bit, actually. I don't have any firsthand experience with it, but I've been playing some of the games that go along with the AR stuff, and the occlusion is getting better. There is something with the boundaries. I don't know if you've run into this, Jeff, but some games, they could be played in like a full like room setting, but if you have a boundary drawn out,
Mhm.
even though you're in pass through, you walk out of that boundary, it shuts the game off.
Ooh.
And it's like, well, it's an AR game. Why, if I walk out of the boundary, did I all of a sudden get kicked out of my game? Like I can
Yeah.
see
Cheating.
that I've walked out of my boundary. And the developers I reached out to said that this is just the way the device works, and they were waiting for a patch to come out with the API to let them ignore the boundary in pass-through mode. So if you look at the first party stuff that Meta's done, I can't remember the name of it, the one where you shoot the little ball guys that are little
Yes.
alien guys that pop through the walls,
Mhm.
that one ignores your boundary. It knows you're in pass-through, you walk around the entire room and play the game,
It's
and the
a
boundary is
it's
just
a
essentially
trial.
turned off.
Yeah.
They have not given that to developers yet, and from what I heard, it was coming, but and I need to check back on the thread on Discord where I posted that and see if they ever got a hold of it.
John, have you seen this game that Ed's talking about?
I have not.
So it's one of the games that they give you by default on the Quest headset, the Quest 3 headset, to kind of introduce you to some of the concepts of the augmented reality experience, the mixed reality experience, where it maps out the room that you're standing in, and slowly aliens start blowing holes in the walls of your house and crawl into you, and you have to shoot them because they're aliens and they're coming into your house. If that doesn't creep you out to start with, like, don't shoot the cat. But here, they're cute little aliens. They're quite literally, they're tribbles. They're animated tribbles that are attacking, but they're coming in your house. Look, they broke through the windows there. And
Yeah, the other one that I have is it's a zombie cabin in the woods scenario,
okay.
and your house becomes the cabin in the woods, and the zombies are breaking through the walls and windows and stuff. But in that one, they don't have the API access to let you freely roam, and the room that I play in is bigger than the boundary can be drawn.
Yeah.
You should pair
So
this
like I
up with a
can't
vacuum
really
cleaner.
play it in the full room.
I like the way you're thinking.
This has
Yes.
actually been done. There is an app that somebody made that maps out where you're using your vacuum, and
I
it
love
sees
that
if,
the cat
to see if you missed a spot.
is running around in the middle of this while this person is playing.
Yeah.
My owner has lost its mind.
Which, if the animal's big enough, it will trigger the headset to tell
So
you that the animal's in the way.
I have an Akita dog, and Ozzy's about 100 pounds, and he triggers the headset. Let me tell you, because
Yeah.
he comes over and sits down in front of me while I'm doing something like this, and Dad.
But I think we'll wrap it up with that. It's a good time to be into VR. I think AR is we still haven't quite figured it all out, but it's getting close. Like as far as gaming and stuff, it's getting close.
I'm
Walk down the streets, with it on your face, not so much.
I won't wear it on a plane, but I had a nice hotel room in Las Vegas. I had some work to get done. Put that headset on, spin up 4 extra displays with my laptop, and I can look everywhere and just get stuff done. It is, as a productive device, really, really cool. And I'm excited about what the Visor is going to do.
Yeah, I've used it to watch videos and stuff in the hotel as well, because nobody wants to touch that remote, and the TV is always trying to get you to buy like movies and stuff. It's like I have YouTube and I have a screen as big as I want, so leave me alone.
Here's how meta I was with the Meta Quest headset. Yeah, I got that right. John, I downloaded that. You're gonna hate me for this. Okay, I'm warning you now. Like, in with the hate, get ready to release the love. I downloaded the Kindle app so that I could read a book on my Quest headset. But wait. Okay. I read Ready Player 2 on the Kindle app on my Quest headset.
All right.
Come on! If you're gonna read Ready Player 1 or Ready Player 2, right? Because they did make a sequel. What better place to read it than with the thing glued to your face? Okay?
It's easier on the eyes too. I'm telling you, it's a lot easier than trying to, like, my phone is a problem for me. Like it's hard on the eyes, but
I
the
can't
big
say
screen in front of me, not so much.
I can't say to Mrs. C Sharp Fritz that something else is easier on the eyes than her. Otherwise, I'm going to get in trouble. Okay.
I think that's a great place to end the show.
Yes.
It's been fun talking to everybody about VR, AR. We'll cover it in bits and pieces throughout our streams from time to time. Well, we're still trying to sell John on the whole thing, but Jeff, appreciate you coming on. I know you're
Look what we've done here.
a big fan, like I am. Like we do use these. Like I use them daily. I use mine every day for doing dev and writing and all sorts of stuff.
I did a stream just this past weekend. You can find it find the recording on my YouTube channel where I used the Immersed app and I was wearing the Quest headset. You can see me in the corner, my normal camera with me wearing the headset, and you can see in the rest of the screen what I was looking at. Make sure you're okay with the motion sickness before you watch that video. You can see what it looks like.
Very cool. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.